Greetings. Thank you for your presence. How do you do? Intending that you're finding yourself within gracious energies. The moon is in Aries as I speak, and it's waxing after a new moon cycle began in Pisces in a conjunction with Jupiter, the same day that we had Mars in a conjunction with Pluto, and Venus in a conjunction with Pluto, and Mercury in a conjunction with Saturn. And so there's a whole lot of new cycles, which means a whole lot of endings. And with every ending comes a new beginning. I'm looking at the conjunction with an angle of perspective of it being right here, being present of two different points of witness. It's an alchemical union. And so it's like creation and creativity, but it's also the endings where we cut ourselves free and are done. And so through this transmutation process, we have the opportunity to lose one facet and open up to a brand new image of self, a brand new facet and a brand new nuance of our personal story. So we're always letting go and we're always building up with every conjunction that we experience. And so today we're here to talk about Mars. Now it's actually that we have moved into a new Mars-Pluto cycle, which is quite formidable because it really echoes back into a big way of what we've been learning about through the world's stories over the past few years. So we're going to look at that on the screen, as well as look at the opportunities that are with us, because we've gone through so much, you and I, as individuals, which Mars represents the individual being. We've been through so much with regards to having to follow the leader, but Mars is the leader. Individuals are here to lead ourselves, us, individual sparks, as star beings. We're here to be able to recognize that we don't need to be told what to do because we are the Akashic records keepers. We're the source, we're the root, we're the way. We're here to recognize that we can use the AstroLogos as astrologers, as traveler beings, to move about the place and have conjunctions with each other every time that we meet another face. And if we're able to not shy away because our prejudices, because our prior national belief systems, if we're able to connect, then find that we can share a loving gaze of just even an eye contact. If I can contact you as I walk past and you can contact me as we walk past, and we lose ourselves through the depth of that moment. Sometimes it's even intimidating, isn't it? It's a challenge. It's right on guard. And yet we can find within that moment, it can even be sexy sometimes too, because it's chemical union. Our chemical union is that which we're unified with at our core. And so this is what Mars represents, doesn't it? It represents me, myself, and I, Aries. It represents I'm losing myself with another I, Scorpio. And so we can find that every time that we lose ourselves with another I, it is actually a portal. We're going through a porthole. You and I, we're portals of the divine. And this is the occult. We're looking into things that are beyond the surface level, because you can't really see me and I can't see you until we get into the harmonic frequencies of our truth. And that's what gets unveiled when we lose ourselves in connection with one another. Mars has been in its favorite sign in Capricorn for quite some time, but it's going to go into Saturn's second sign, which is like beyond time. It's non-local connection, and it's going to be there until April 15th. It's going to be some making some substantial aspects through this journey. We're going to get them all up on the screen so you can see them on your chart here, and maybe you know how to apply them to your own natal chart. It could be very useful, practical information. But for the collective energy, it's going to be very important and empowering to recognize what happens when we find that we're able to engage with each other without getting so connected that we need something from another because we're the source. We've got everything we need and we can let go and surrender and move on to the next. Whether it's actually in our relationships with one another or whether it's marketing and connecting with each other in our tribes and networks, it's actually this kind of non-local dance that we get the opportunity to find our own self through. As I say, every time in the old days, in the timeless days, the travelers, the walkers, the astrologers of the world would walk the plane. And every time they'd encounter another, what you would do is you'd have eye contact and you'd exchange your gifts, you'd exchange your talents and presence. And it would be the opportunity to find excitement in the differences and to find the opportunity to explore our similarities also. And in this opportunity, we would find that we're not based on this geographical locational grid. We are travelers, we're walkers, we're star beings, and this is our earth. This is our garden, and it is our heritage that we actually find the opportunity to share with one another. And that is the tremendous opportunity that we have, word of the day, opportunity, for us to grow. Because it's actually that you hold a facet of me that I can't see in reflection to myself. And I, and each and every single body in this matrix, in this hall of mirrors, holds another mirror to you. And in this opportunity to see this angle of self from the 360 degrees awareness all around us, we really get to recognize ourselves at the core of our being. And so this is very important for us, because it means that actually we can treat everybody as equals rather than looking up and idolizing some folks just because they've got a certain class or stature. Maybe they've got an education, maybe they've got a beautiful body, maybe they're rich because they've got some money in the bank, maybe it's because they're a certain nationality, or whatever it may be. We're able to gauge where we're finding that we're cutting ourselves short because of our projections, by how it feels. And if we do that, then we can come into the alchemization of these harmonics through our conjunctions as we interact with one another every time that we come into these experiences. And so this is the metamorphosis of how we identify with ourselves within this experience, because we're going to be changing our sense of authority and recognizing that when we lead, we're connected to self. I mean, just consider it. Just consider it for a second. When I've got this over here, I have to grab my beard trimmer. It's a lead, right? It's an electronic lead. And a lead, so it doesn't spark off and electrocute other people. I'm no engineer. But a lead is looped into self, so it is safe and doesn't do electronic shocks to people. A lead is looped into itself because that's how it conducts itself. And so Aries energy, Mars, martial energy, when it's being its bold old self, when it's being its young, inspired kind of hero's journey, fool-like self, it's looped into self. And then it loses self when it connects with another. Oh, how do you do in the marketplace? Oh, you're an astrologer, are you? Oh, yeah, well, I create and crochet, I weave. I'm a carpenter. And so we all exchange and we lose ourselves with that engagement. And then we move on. We're like, I've got a chair on my back and I'm an astrologer. I've got some crochets in my bag. I'm an astrologer. Oh my goodness. All of these people with these big cumbersome gifts that they share. It's great when it's knowledge and wisdom, because that means you can fit it in your back pocket. Anyway, what I'm recognizing here is that we're always engaging, especially when we're looped into self. This means that we're not needing things outside of each other. We're not going to be saying, hey, I'm in a relationship. Will you play with my daddy? Hey, I'm coming into a relationship. You're going to play my mummy. We're here to be our own mother, which means taking care of our body. This is the mothership. And if we listen to the sensitivities that play out on our bodies, we know how long to spend in engagement with different people by how it feels. In certain environments, it will tell us if we're meant to stop or if we're meant to keep going. Our body, our spaceship, this mothership, it tells us everything. And so this is why they say get grounded, get earthed, just like the electric current of this cable. Self is looped into the body. Mothership, grounded, practical. This is the place to be. This is the space to be. This is why we do our meditation. This is why we do our harmonic, coherent breathing. This is why we go and do the yoga. This is why we go to the gymnasium, so we can get into the body. That's the only way out, man. You got to get in to get out. You got to get down to get up. You got to get up to get down, right? And so once we've done that, we can master the mind, which is the farthest thing. It's a minefield, man. It's the jungle, the Maya. And yet this is a reflection of us. The mind is a reflection. The external world is our reflection. Mamma mia, it rocks out here. It cradles us. It's the cradle of youth, you could say. Some people might say it's the pits because it's our reflection. And so what we have the opportunity to do is always recognize ourselves within this reflective space. And this is how we respond with love. This is how we conduct ourselves and interact with each other, our equals with love. You and I, they are also the center of their reality. And so we have to recognize that we don't admonish and don't shoot prejudices at one another, because that's just shooting ourselves in the foot. And this is some Mars and Aquarius business. And so the way that we conduct ourselves really counts. If we start projecting way too much and we're not mindful and placing that energy back into ourselves, we've got a leak, we've got a hole in our bucket, and this means that we're going to run dry. And so we always have to loop back into self after we've connected with each other, after we've connected with another. Do you know how much time we need to rebuild our energy with? Especially when we're going on the old social medias, when we're going out there to the beach and partying with people, even if we're staying sober. It's exhausting connecting with people. It's imperative that we recognize how to nurture our body and be mindful of our consciousness, because when we've got the farthest example of love and the nearest, dearest example of our love attended to, well, that's when we do activate the spark. You activate your spirit, because you become in total alignment. And that is the inner child. That is the silver lining between the yin and the yang. It's the ambience as we bounce between the external and the internal. It's who I am. It's that I am. It's which you are too. We are all that divine spark of consciousness. And it's that which is the electric bolt which comes straight through us. And that's Aquarius. Oh my goodness gracious gosh. It's electrifying. Yes, it is. But it's that electrifying current that makes us oh so magnetic. As we conduct ourselves, we draw all the things towards us, because you are the source. You will never go without. You will never, ever go without when you conduct yourself within a metaphysical language of electromagnetics and astrology. Well, that's our greatest guide. Thank you for recognizing that astrology is who you are, and you are the great guide. You are the source. You are your higher self. You are the spirit. You are the soul. There's nothing which you are not. So thank you for your presence. I'm grateful for you. If you would like to book a consultation with me where I can read your natal chart, I'm available to do that for you. All of the links are in the description box of this video below. As soon as I've received notification of your investment, I shall send you a link to my schedule, and you can book an appointment where I will share your chart on the screen, like which I'm about to do, as I run through each of the aspects of Mars through Aquarius. But with you, we'll go through every planet, through each of the houses, through all the signs, all of the aspects that each planet makes, as well as the current sky in application to your own unique natal chart. So you're empowered with all of the energies that are available to you throughout 2022 into 2023 and beyond. It's my honor to be able to share this information and empower it to you, so you can act as your own astrologer moving through these moments and beyond. All the links are in the description box below. Thank you for your presence. I see you, Grounded Extracts, Betty, Roxanne, and Marilla. I'm grateful for all of you. Nicole's, and Cultivating Harmony, Chinese Medicine for Women. I love all of you, you brilliant bunch of beings. Crystal, you're all brilliant. And the Womb Collective. I like my tribe. You are a bunch of brilliant beings. I see you over there as well, Eleanor. Right, let me get this chart up on the screen. If you're watching this in a recording, I know you are exactly where you're meant to be. Thank you for honouring your moments, and recognise that you're so also equally appreciated. So right now we've got Mars and Venus at the anaretic, culminative, 29th degree of Capricorn. Oh yeah! And the moon is going through cardinal Aries. It's actually waxing, as I say, after the new moon, and it's coming into square Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, and by tomorrow, early into tomorrow, less than 24 hours, we're going to have the moon square Mars and Venus, as Venus and Mars make ingress into Aquarius. Let's have a look at it, shall we? I've been talking for 15 minutes. Let's lay our eyes on some evidence, shall we? Yeah, let me get this up on the screen. Thank you for your presence, Gaia. Waking Gaia. Right, let me share this on the screen. So easy just to talk the astrology, but I know you guys, you'd like to see it too. And it puts a different tone on it, doesn't it, when we're talking about what we're sharing on the old screen. And so here we go. This is the current moments right now. As I said, I narrated it, and now you can see it for yourself. It was actually just a couple of hours ago that we had the Sun make its conjunction with Jupiter. And this is meant to be one of the most fortunate days of the year, the most expansive days of the year. But it's a new Jupiter Sun cycle. You know, the Lord of the Sky, Jupiter, Zeus, with Helios, the star of the sky. And so it's a really enthusiastic, kind of spiritual, visionary kind of day. I mean, this whole cycle is encrypted with this energy because the new moon began right next to Jupiter. But we're talking about Mars today. And so, as I mentioned at the beginning of the story, we just had this Mars-Pluto conjunction, and that took place at 27 degrees here. And the last time that we had this take place was actually March 2020. And we're not going to spend too much time lingering on it because I've spoken on it a lot, but it's important. So I'm just going to share with you guys. It was March 2020 that we had the Mars-Pluto conjunction at 24 degrees. And this took place just as the whole world went into the ritualistic lockdown, and they come up with all the new laws and governing factors and manipulations of the mind to go through the media. And this was all set up with this kind of triple conjunction of Mars and Pluto and Jupiter. Now, if we just go forward 1 week, we can see that it was only on the March the 31st that Mars would meet with Saturn. Now, within this broadcast, you'll see that Mars does meet with Saturn. Actually, that takes place on April the 4th. And this was the last time that it took place, you see? And so we'll look at that because I don't want to spend too many yarns. But the point is that Mars made its conjunction with Pluto only at 27 degrees on the 3rd, 3 days ago. And so that's very interesting. But the next Mars-Pluto conjunction, this is what I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. Well, that takes place here. And it's like our old friend. Because we have had, as you saw, Mars meet with Saturn the last time at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Mars will meet with Pluto February the 13th and 14th, 2024. That's the next time that we meet with Mars-Pluto. So basically, when the whole world was put into lockdown, they wanted to get to the world to the state of that which it was in now. And so they wanted to get to the ruse of there being this kind of story where they're doing the war, which is actually a cover story for something which is much larger, which is going on behind the scenes. That's not to say it's not to be taken seriously. It's not to say that you're not to be concerned and empathic. But the point is, it's a real distraction from your personal groove. All of this stuff is a distraction from our personal story as individuals. And so it's important to recognize that narrative. But if they manage to do that much change in the world since March 2020 till this week, and they managed to get the world scene shifted and, normalized in a whole different manner, which is radical. Imagine what we're able to do in the next 100 weeks between now and this next Mars-Pluto conjunction, which is taking place at 0 degrees of Aquarius in February 2024. Because it's so substantial that it's actually taking place at 0 degrees of Aquarius, where the great conjunction took place of Saturn and Jupiter, the winter solstice, December 2020, where Mars met with Saturn March 31st, 2020, as well as where we shall see tomorrow Mars meeting with Venus here. And so isn't that interesting? Now let's just hold our horses for a moment. And so this is obviously a big change of the narrative. First and foremost, when Pluto makes ingress at 0 degrees of Aquarius there, which will be, a little while yet, it's going to happen 3 times. It does retrograde back into Capricorn and all of this stuff. But it's changing the whole narrative which was set into the scene with the Great Conjunction. It's changing the whole narrative of this interpersonal cycle which is about to begin between Mars and Venus. And so it's very potent. It's very important for us to recognize. Cosmic Room Collective said, that is unflipping canny. You're darn right it's uncanny. And uncanny, for those who may not be sure of the definition, mean it's so real, it's crazy. And so there you go. Now look at this. Let's just do this by the hour. We are recognizing here that, the moon is actually in Mars's sign of Aries right now, and it makes a lovely sextile to Mercury, which is great for this video, right? And also Saturn. It's coming off of that, though, and it's starting to square Pluto over the course of the next few hours. You can see the moon squares Pluto exactly when it gets to 27 degrees of Aries, which is this evening for me. It's about 5 hours' time. But then the moon keeps on going, obviously, and look at this. I've got to slow it down and do it less than an hour because everything shifts in a flash so quickly. Very Aquarian, right? And so Mars is leading the way and has been since 16 degrees of Capricorn, which is when it took over Venus, which is moving so slowly since it had its retrograde in Capricorn. And so it is first that Mars makes ingress into Aquarius here. As you see, let me just keep it going. Come on, go on, Mars. There it does. And it's less than an hour. It was actually a few minutes later that Venus follows. So Venus is still in Capricorn there. But look at the moon. The moon's at 29 degrees of Mars's sign. So let's go back. So what a 90-degree angle is martial. The 90-degree angle is the same energy as Mars and Aries. Okay? Because I'm just going out on a limb. It's like a first quarter moon. It's like any first quarter angle. It's 90 degrees. And so that's Mars. I'm going off in my direction. That way, this way, it's leadership. And so when you've got this 90-degree angle between the 29th anaretic culminative degree, where the moon is of Aries, as well as 29 degrees of Capricorn, where Mars and Venus is, it's like, hey, it's very interesting. So Mars goes into fixed air Aquarius, where the moon is still in cardinal fire Aries, still square to Venus, 90 degrees. But then Venus goes into fixed air. That's not a 90-degree angle anymore, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Oh no, we're dealing with an 89-degree angle. And so that's not a 90-degree square perfectly. It's still a square, but it's not a 90-degree one. But you wait, let's speed it up a little bit, because it is obviously that this moon has got a date. It's got a very important date, and that date is to make ingress into Taurus. And as it does so, not only does it find itself within its own exaltation, and the cardinal square to Pluto finishes, because it's still square in Pluto, but it then makes that perfect 90-degree angle again to Mars, and then to Venus, while it's in Venus's home sign. So it's poetry. I've shared it a few times, and it's taking place in about 12 hours from now. And so it's very beautiful. Obviously, the moon is moving more speedily than Venus and Mars, although Venus made a conjunction with Mars upon the ingress, and that's the first aspect of this Mars in Aquarius transit. And so what we recognize is that, yes, the moon moves beyond the square to Mars, moves beyond the square to Venus, and is off to the races for the next couple of days and a bit in Taurus there. And so this is very interesting, very beautiful, and I love it. And so it's actually quite a while between now and this next aspect that we have with Mars in Aquarius. But what's very important for us to recognize is that actually Mars and Venus are the lovers of the zodiac, aren't they? They're divine lovers. Mars ruling Aries, which is the individual, which is who I am. You've all got Aries. It also rules Scorpio, which is I'm losing who I am in collaboration with some other person's energy. And so Mars rules both of that situation. It's like being so daring and gutsy to be able to say, hey, I'm going to intermingle with you and I'm going to lose myself. And that's with every interaction. It doesn't have to be in business or in a shared energy. It can be just going into a conversation with somebody at your local vicinity, shop or store, whatever it is, because you don't know the outcome of what it's going to be when you open your mouth until it actually takes place. And so we're always learning through our interactions with each other. It is every time that we come eye-to-eye contact with other people that we lose ourselves. So this is why the travelers, the walkers, would experience so much growth, because they're always coming face to face with another facet of the self, just like what I explained at the beginning. And so Venus rules Taurus, which is my self-worth. It's your self-worth. It's the talents, it's the gifts which we have to share. It's the perfumes, it's the taste, the smells when we hug, when we meet each other. It's all of these different things. But it's also our perspective. It's like, it's our gauge of reference. It's Libra as well as Taurus. And so it's our intelligence, which is like keeping us safe. It's like, hey, how do I recognize that I'm even projecting my own story onto this person in a different way? Every time that we find another canvas, our story will lay a different manner upon them. them. And so it's very interesting that we get provoked in different ways by different faces and different interactions, different types of people. It's just like different colors coming together. You get your red and you get your blue, and they kind of make a purpley browny color, don't they? When you mix them together, they have to lose themselves. But purpley brown's very useful. I mean, purple's very sought after, and brown is too. And so there you go. In losing self, you get another creation, don't you? But you can return back to self. And that's the whole being looped into self and lose the nuance that makes us who we are. And this is the self-love etiquette. So this Mars and Venus conjunction is a whole new cycle, and it's really fun. If we just go forward 1 year, we'll see that Mars is actually just coming out of shadow after having gone retrograde in Gemini, whereas Venus has done a whole loop and a bit, is actually back here as the west star, which is the east, which is the evening star. But the fun thing is, you'd think that they would meet again here in Leo, but they don't, because Venus slows down and goes retrograde in Leo in 2023. And so the next time that Mars and Venus will meet is actually back in Aquarius here, after the Mars-Pluto conjunction takes place. It will be that Mars and Venus meet here, excuse me, here it is, at 7 degrees there in February 2024. So this cycle lasts, that starts tomorrow until February 2024 between Mars and Venus, or interpersonal relationship dynamics. And Mars will go retrograde in Gemini and Venus will go retrograde in Leo before they meet again. And yet they only last met in Capricorn a few weeks ago, and prior to that in Leo in August. Normally they only do meet once every 100 weeks. So this is a return back to form, even though they both go retrograde. Okay, so that was quite complex, but it really puts us into a position of knowing what is going on for us with regards to our Mars-Venus. But Mars is the self, and Venus is how we relate to others. And this is in the air sign of Aquarius, which is fairly detached. And so this is really learning about how we can find that we're able to gain so much, but what we do gain in interaction with one person won't be the same as that which we gain from another. But that's not to say that the quality is less. Why do we have to judge on that? It's all about resonance. And so when we resonate and we have a great connection, it might be someone that we resonate with on a different frequency and we have another type of connection with. And so we must learn to let go of our judgments, let go of our attachments, let go of our expectations, and let go of our projections, let go of our needs that we're looking to have fulfilled by other people, and find that we're able to fulfill them ourselves when we're exchanging our gifts, when we're exchanging our talents. We're able to share what we have and learn about other people, what they have to offer. And this is the most brilliant thing about these connections. They're non-local, they're not attached. You don't want to put your anchor down too much in an environment, because you will end up finding that investment might go dry. Whether it's a relationship with somebody, or whether it's learning to buy land or premises, it's best to actually invest in things that don't actually take a context of weight or heaviness. And in doing so, you can find that they're timeless connections that last forever. The moments can be timeless because what we learn is about exchange and connection on an equal playing field. And this is something which is new for us, because we've been always in these kind of more toxic, codependent relationships. And this is Aquarius. This is the future. This is more about finding interdependence. And this is obviously it's got a taboo feature to it, isn't it? Because we're learning about, I'll give you one example here. So I met a young lady for lunch yesterday, and I bumped into somebody right in front of her that I'd met a few days before. But we're always networking with different people. And so it's okay to be able to kind of date two people at once, isn't it? Right? Unless you're in a committed relationship. And so you're always learning about the fact that it's kind of nice to be able to connect with multiple people at once, because you're learning about different parts of yourself, with different types of people. And it's about accepting it and just being okay with it, and learning to accept other people with their freedoms too. Because this is how we let go of ownership. This is how we let go of possession. And this is really where we gain our sovereignty back, because we've learned that the constituencies of governments and corporations, all they want to do is own you and possess you and use you as stocks and share your talents, share your sovereignty, And so really what we're learning about is how we're to connect with ourselves and allow other people that we connect with to still be free. And I'm not saying that this is easy peasy, because we've all got emotions. And our energy and emotions want to be nurtured. We've all got stagnant parts of ourselves that haven't been seen, which can, bring us to our knees, and that can bring us to what we find that we do expect from other people in our interpersonal relationships. And so we're growing and learning so much through every single connection. But if we can be transparent, if we can challenge ourselves to be authentic, then we're not putting on a face. We're not putting on a facade. We're not putting on a mask to hide who we truly are. And this is what Mars is all about. And so that's my opinion on that. So let's keep going. You didn't need my opinion, but you got it. Thank you for your presence, Jamie and Robin. I'm grateful for each of you. So next aspect is actually Mars, obviously, coming along the way. We actually move through a lot of this Pisces season, and it's Mars finally getting to this 11 degrees, which you firstly see Venus does on the 18th of March, the very end of Pisces season it is. You see, this is interesting. We have a lovely sextile at this day between the Sun at 28 degrees of Pisces to Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, 28 degrees of Capricorn, all planets moving direct. This is very exciting. Moving towards will be, this is just after the full moon in Virgo, isn't it? The day or so after, we have the sextile between Venus and Chiron. And then the day after, Venus makes the square to Uranus. So it's actually that Mars comes along and does it too. Funny thing is, Mercury, was the first to do this. Mercury actually stationed after having sextiled Chiron and didn't square Mercury until about 2 weeks ago when it came out of its shadow. It had to go back into Capricorn first. And so there's a story that went on here. The Sun was next to do it, and then Venus does it a few days before, and then Mars makes a sextile to Chiron, 11 degrees of Aquarius to 11 degrees of Aries. This is an opening 60-degree harmonic where we find that we get to see ourselves. And it's very interesting because it's happening just after we see that the Sun has made ingress into Mars's sign. It's a whole new zodiac year. As of the 20th of March, the equinox takes place, right? And so not only that, but we also have the moon in Mars's other sign of Scorpio while this is going on. And so this is about recognizing our vulnerabilities and our ability to be innovative and change. In fact, Mars at its richest octave of the root chakra is change. It's leading with change. It's cutting itself free from the old and it's going into something new, but it doesn't need to know its destination because it knows itself. And so after the day after that, Mars makes the square to Uranus. Woo! That's the change. That's the shift. That's the consciousness. That's dipping your toe into the hot water and finding out that it was just the perfect temperature for you. And so this is really going after something. It can be intimidating. It can be scary. And we don't want to lose ourselves when we're going after something. But it might be the opportunity that we needed to be persistent about and go after anyway. At this point, we see that there's a fiery trine in the sky. The moon goes into Sagittarius, trines the sun over there exalted in its favorite sign of Aries. We actually also, if we go back, see that Mercury makes a conjunction with Jupiter at this time. So very much endings and new beginnings with regards to the philosophy of our types of connections that we share with each other. Mercury being the bridge, and it's a mutable energy, and Jupiter also being a mutable energy. There's much change within our interpersonal dynamics, especially with how we see the value and connect with one another. Interesting, so it shall be. And so we keep on moving. And it will be actually that after this very paradigm-shattering, shifty kind of genius square from Mars to Uranus, expect the unexpected in the world scene for sure, but don't Allow that to take you off your groove, baby, because you are the great synthesis. You are the great orchestrator. Your narrative and your frequency is really, truly what counts through these moments, through our days. And so it will be actually that it's not until April 1st that we have the new moon in Aries. And that's obviously quite interesting. But look at this. We have Venus meet with Saturn at 21 degrees on the 28th of March. And this is just before we move into the dark phase of the lunar cycle. Venus moves beyond Saturn and squares the nodes. This could be like a problem reaction solution that they do in the world. With regards to these different implications of these conjunctions with Saturn, this could be like a resource crisis or some kind of corporations restricting the media. I don't know what it could be, but pay attention to yourself, because you're never going to stay disconnected for anything that truly empowers you. If anything, you actually find that you can be more connected by the ending of some stories and the beginning of some new ones, as you find that you've got enough people within your tribe to be able to trade and exchange with, and your talents and your gifts are enough to keep you not only afloat, but are enough for you to thrive. And so that's what we're recognizing as Jupiter draws close to Neptune as well. It's really about being our own authority, which is really having a backbone. Saturn and Venus, and then obviously Saturn and Mars, Venus and Mars pulling apart at this point. It will be actually that here we have, the new moon in Aries on the 1st of April. And look at that. It's actually, obviously Mars rules Aries, but that's actually a new moon in a conjunction with Mercury, also in Aries, as well as Chiron. And that's at 12 degrees of Aries. Interesting, so it shall be. But Mars moves beyond this kind of restriction or this kind of roadblock by the time it gets to the 4th of April. And as we saw, it was the 31st of March 2020, the last time that Saturn met with Mars. This is the last day of Venus, actually, in Aquarius. You see also that the moon makes a trine to Pluto and squares Venus while the ingress takes place of Venus into Pisces, just like how the introduction of this ingress took place with Venus coming into Aquarius as it does tomorrow. And so that's quite interesting. But anyway, as Venus clears off into its exaltation sign of Pisces, we see that Mars makes that conjunction with Saturn and moves beyond it. The next conjunction with Mars and Saturn will be actually April the 10th, 2024. Let's just take a look at that chart for a moment. And so we see that that's taking place at 14 degrees of Pisces. So much would have changed between now and then. But this Mars-Saturn cycle will take us through to then. So the kind of moment of that narrative that takes place on the 4th of April takes us all the way through for a whole 2 years of shiftiness. And we see, obviously, Neptune's moved all the way to 28 degrees, Pluto at 1 degrees of Aquarius, Uranus and Jupiter together here at 19 and 21 degrees of Taurus. There's a lot of change that's going to take place between now and then. Let's not even suggest what's been going on. But it's interesting for us to recognize for us in these moments. So let's just come back. And so we see that actually it is 2 days after that Mars meets with Saturn. When it moves beyond that, it squares the nodes, just the same as Venus did. Just how Mercury met with Saturn a couple of days ago at 19 degrees when we had the new moon, and today Mercury squaring the nodes. When anything squares K2, the south node here, it's unpackaging something from what was in Scorpio, been hidden from us. And this is Mars that rules Scorpio, the south node where Cato is. And it's like, hey, I wasn't able to see that because it's the tail of the dragon. It's part of our story. It's part of our embodiment of who we truly are. Maybe it's actually packed away in our emotions, which are stored in our body, within the cellular membrane of our body. We find that we are the holders of so many different charged up stories, like the Akashic records. And so this is an opportunity to see that we're unpacking and we're moving towards this north node here in Venus' sign of Taurus, where Mars makes a 90-degree square to Rahu, the head of the dragon. This is about saying that there's this opportunity to be the administrator and authority within our own community and connections with others. Very powerful, isn't it? But we've got to check in and be discerning with these things. Lovely moon here, trine in Venus at this time, suggests to me that it can be a very nice opening and opportunity, but it's actually moving beyond Saturn, which might feel like more of the roadblock that we have to get through first. That's just my intuition. We shall see how it pans out, won't we, come the 7th of April. But again, it could be also the response to, as like warriors of the zodiac, as our own heroes of the zodiac, to say, hey, yeah, there might be a restriction laid in place when Venus comes along, new laws and things like this, divisions. But beyond division, we actually find that we develop our consciousness. Our ability to have compassion multiplies. Every time that we have division, we expand in our awareness. And so this is very powerful. And it can be that we are able to really develop our ability to lead ourselves in connection to tribe, which is like non-local. It might be like, I'm able to distribute my talents and wealths over here and build community in this part of the world, but it's non-geographical. It's not about nationalities. It's not about class. It's about all of our nationalities banding together and recognizing that together we're able to learn so much about ourselves. And this is the gift of surrender and metamorphosis that we gain the opportunity to work with. And so there you go. Lovely Mercury coming into square Pluto at this stage, and this was the almost the last aspect of this transit. But look, Mercury, which is kind of where Mars is now, has flown 60 degrees in the time it took Mars to go 25 degrees. And we have a sextile from Mercury in Mars' sign of Aries back to Mars in Aquarius. Again, this is very direct, kind of sudden connections and communications that can develop. And the suggestion that that Mercury is also squaring Pluto, the intensity and the rapid nature of these developments can be very prosperous, I would imagine, or at least very rapid. And so it's going to be very interesting. It will be that then Mars shuffles on through those last culminative anaretic degrees of the zodiac, especially when it gets to 29 on the 14th, and makes ingress into Pisces on the 15th of April. And this is just before the full moon in Libra, which is actually in a cardinal T-square with Pluto. And so it's going to be very interesting. The story is shifting, and the amount of consciousness that we can develop for ourselves, the amount of compassion that we're able to lend to every eye that we observe externally, as well as obviously ourselves internally, is eternally beneficial for the transformation of our own stature and authority as we lead into this new paradigm. Because we are all going to be learning, because whoever we lend our eye to becomes our greatest teacher, and we're a pupil at heart. We are always innocent, and it's opening up to our innocence, authenticity, and transparency that we gain the ultimate opportunity to transform and to empower ourselves for our moments. By the time we get to this point, you see Saturn is square the nodes here. And so this is a very important time that we're moving towards, from Mars making ingress into Aquarius until it gets into Pisces, which is Mars' own 12th house of Aries and Mars' own 5th house of Scorpio, which suggests that this is the end of individualization, the end of individual leadership, and the coming into compassionate team cultivation of co-creativity. Because Mars is in the 5th house of Scorpio at this stage. It's letting go of ego. It's letting go of this need to find that we're projecting our story and just find that actually we're more powerful together in union. This is what we're learning through this transit of Mars through Aquarius. That actually we do have stuff that each other's needs are going to be met by. So we need to let go of some of our own unabashed expectations and projections that we have with one another, and come into a grand opportunity to heal our story and connect again with each other. And it's been happening already so much. It's been happening for so long, this past 100 weeks. Imagine how much more we can deepen our connection to one another and let go of all this surface level bravado. Let go of all this, I'm going to project my old story and then find that other people are the villain. No, we're not going to be in victim consciousness anymore. If there's a projection, we just say, hey, it's okay, I projected my old story. It's just what we do. Now let's just clean and cleanse and purify and come into the ultimate source of our own creative eye together. This is very empowering. You see that sun at that point, square Pluto, the moon, square Pluto. You know, this is obviously 6 weeks from now. It's going to be very interesting. So, I don't know how that falls for you in your personal natal chart, but I'm here to serve you. If you want a consultation, I'm here to empower you so that you recognize that you are exactly where you're meant to be, that you've got stature independently on your own, connected with tribe, together. We are really empowering ourselves to see that wherever we are in the world, we're never missing out. We're never short. We're exactly where we're meant to be. When we're linked into self, we're connected to the source. And this is very important. If you want a consultation where this can be reflected, if you want to recognize some of your old stories and you want to untangle them, it's kind of like a psychotherapy session. It can be like hours of psychotherapy and a couple of hours of astrology because it brings up so much. It's so intimate. We're able to see ourselves or be channeling your higher self. You know, it's all there in your chart. And basically, I'm just a reflection of you in those moments. If you want a consultation, if you want to make your investment, then all the links are in the description box below. I'm here to serve you whether you want a 1 hour or want to go into the deep dive 2 hours. I'm here to just really hold that space for you and show you that you are empowered throughout these moments through 2022 and beyond into 2023. I look forward to sharing connection. As soon as I receive your investment, we will send you the appointment calendar and you can book your own consultation time. Right. I caught the sun, as you can see, yesterday. And so I'm excited just to take it easy. These anaretic degrees, it's like the kettle's going off. Woo-hoo! It's a lot of steam. So just take it chill, stay loose. There's a lot of tension. And then we can find that by this time tomorrow, maybe the weight's off a little bit because we're coming into this conjunction of Mars, Venus. The moon would have gone into Taurus. It'd be a whole different show. Thank you for your presence, Luna Gem, Barbara Wheel, Ashish, and Jean or Jean. I'm grateful for all of you. You're brilliant over there. Whether you're on Unifying Perspectives, which is my YouTube channel, or whether you're over there on the AstroLada YouTube channel, I'm grateful for you. I've got loads of interviews and daily content on my YouTube channel. Subscribe over there on Unifying Perspectives if you've not checked it out. There's a plethora of astrological educational videos. Playlists, over 150 different interviews with Santos Bonacci, Rick Levine, Nadia Shah, a whole lot of great astrologers. I'm sure you know a few of them over there. Check them out. Other than that, we're going to go into the 12 horoscopes now, from Aquarius all the way back through to Capricorn for the Mars transit through Aquarius. Tomorrow is just another day, just as today. You know, they're all just the same. I'm grateful for you. You're a lady, thank you. Don't know if you're Jean or Jean, though. It could be that there's very different, many ways to pronounce your name in a live chat. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit warm, hot under the collar here. I'm going to go straight into having a sip of my beverage before I actually go into Aquarius. Thank you for your lovely contributions. You went to the beach, did you, Jamie? I went to the beach yesterday. It was lovely. I went for a little paddle. I had a lovely bit of astrology for you the other day. This is cool, I'll tell you. So I went to the beach and I have my phone here. As you see, it's smashed on the old screen. Well, I'm a Libra ascendant. This is a good bit of astrology. If you know your ascending sign, I'm telling you a jewel of wisdom, a pearl, right now. And it is actually that you are always meant to pay attention to the ruling planet of your ascending sign. Not just where it is natally in your chart, of course you do. Like I've got Venus in Scorpio, 19 degrees. And so it's very nice that I've got it there in the second house, right? I wonder if you are knowledgeable enough to know your ascending sign and where your natal ruler of your chart is. I wonder if you do. I know that Robin in the live chat, she's a Capricorn ascendant, I believe. Actually, I know you've got some Capricorn energy, so you look for Saturn. Whereas if you were like a Sagittarian or Piscean ascendant, you look for Jupiter. If you're Aries or Scorpio ascendant, you look for Mars. AV's a Sagittarius rising, you look for wherever Jupiter is. So, you know, it could be Jupiter would be in Virgo if you were Sagittarius rising. And what you do is you see that Jupiter's at the top of the sky in Virgo, in the 10th house. That's how you do it. And it tells the story. But it's not just about your natal position. It's also about the transitory position. And so, with for me, as a Libra person, I've had Venus in the 4th house since November. But Venus, just like Mars, makes ingress into Aquarius tomorrow in my 5th house. But what you do is you look at the condition of Venus or the ruling planet on every day, and that's going to tell you your situation. So a few days ago, it was about a week ago, Venus sextiled Neptune, and I went to the beach. And I've been to the beach a few times since then, but I wasn't going to the beach very regularly. Obviously, Neptune is Poseidon, the ocean, and I was right beside the ocean. And the thing is, that was the day also that Mercury came out of shadow, and so I was in new territory. I was going to explore new connections, but Mercury came out of shadow, sextiled Chiron, just how Mars did. I showed you on the screen. It's going to. But then that same day, Mercury, just a few hours later, as I was walking back through the ocean, paddling, walking back to my bike, causing no commotion, I dropped my phone because I tripped over a rock. So Venus sextiles Neptune, illusion and delusion, daydreaming I was. And then I tripped over a rock, Uranus smashed, crack, bang, wallop, shattered my screen and my technological connectivity device. I had to change my password because a bit of the screen wouldn't work. But there you go. It's all working, it's okay. But that's a good bit of astrology for you. Check out wherever your chart ruler is, and I'll find that it would be that condition. So for you guys who are ruled by Mercury, if you're a Gemini ascendant or you're a Virgo ascendant, this means that Mercury always hurtling along, sometimes shifting retrograde. So much change for you guys. Whereas if you're ruled by Saturn, if you're a Capricorn ascendant, or if you're actually Aquarius ascendant, you can find that change is dead old slow, which is fun. Because obviously, if you're a Scorpio ascendant, you might be always looking for Pluto. It's like, oh, nothing's changing, man. We'll just look to Mars, because Mars also rules Scorpio. Anyway, I could talk about this with you forever. I love doing astrology workshops. If it was back and forth in person, or maybe we can do a big old open Zoom meeting one day where all of you guys in a live chat can join and put your converse and questions on the table for us to actually exchange. I'd love that. Anyway, let me take a sip of my beverage again and I'll start doing these tarot cards for you. Some people, they'll be like, when are we going to get these timestamps on the go? Thank you for doing it, whoever does it. Yeah, this is for tropical. So you're going to have to wait a little while for your Virgo ascendant there, P. But thank you. Yeah, this is all for tropical astrology. I do love looking at the nakshatras, though, in application to the tropical zodiac. And if you come for a consultation with me, then we can talk about what nakshatras your planets fall into, if that's what you're interested in. It's so interesting. I don't know if you guys know Claire Nocti on YouTube, but she does some great videos on the stories of the nakshatras and how they relate to film stars and how we play out so similar roles when we share placements with people. It's very interesting. I've got the same Venus as Leonardo DiCaprio. And so it's very interesting, the similarities that we share. But anyway, I'm just telling you all these little pearls and gems about the astrology world. And it's about time that we got into these horoscopes. Thank you for the compliment, Gary. Oh, and Itiza, excuse me if I pronounce your name wrong. She says, if I'm a Libra ascendant, do you look for Venus? You do. You do. You've nailed it. So Venus could obviously be in any of the signs. But wherever Venus falls, it's the ruler of the chart. Likewise, for whatever your ascending sign is. Oh, so Ashish, you've got another question. You say, what's a nakshatra? Well, there's 28 nakshatras within the zodiac. So if there's 12 signs of the zodiac, there's 28 nakshatras, which are smaller divisions, which is how long the moon moves per day. It's like a moon mansion, if you will, Vedic astrology. But you can overlay it the tropical chart, and you can see the nakshatras, and it's very interesting. So I know, like my personal placements, the story of the nakshatra, where I have my sun and my Mercury, they fall into Mula, which is death, rebirth, initiation, facing the music, moving beyond roadblocks and coming into a metamorphosis. That's my Mercury and sun. I love it. But my ascendant is more fair, it's in Libra, it's Swati. And so it's like completely different energy. It's really more about being a visionary and finding the equality and things, Libra stuff, right? And so this is where you find that Mula one goes over the galactic center at the end of Sagittarius into the beginning of Capricorn. And yet my favorite is where we got Jupiter and the sun today, Purva Brahapada. It is actually that no matter what you build, no matter what you physically attain, whether it's the most gorgeous, sexiest person that you want to make love to, or whether it's actually being a billionaire and owning like iPhone or Microsoft or like the WWE or JCB or whatever it is, it's not enough. The creation, the destruction, it's not enough because Puva Brahapada rules the one-legged goat, which is just pure darkness, except for the flash of light that comes through the spark of our own spirit, because that's the only thing that's left at the end of the orgasm, at the end of the death, at the end of building a successful business and the demise of it too, at the end of the relationship, at the end of the day, all that's left is you and your consciousness. And that's Puva Brahapada. It's the middle of Pisces. That's where I've got my Jupiter and Mars, and that's where the Sun and Jupiter are today. Should we get into it? Mars is going to be in Aquarius until the 15th of April. So this is for Aquarius. Wow, your ruling planet is Saturn. It's in your first house. Mars will make a conjunction with Saturn, and that's going to be, as we've discussed, on the 4th of April. Your other ruling planet is Uranus, and Mars is going to make a square to Uranus, and that's going to take place on the 22nd of March. Uranus in Taurus, still working through its shadow phase, whereas Saturn is in new territory. It's actually just entered its shadow phase because Saturn shall be retrogressing back over these points later this year. And so, this is a great time of accumulation of things that we're going to build upon this year. So you might not find that you're actually doing all the things that you set out to right now, but you're going to get time to work on them, whoever you are. And so this is very important, especially for you, Aquarius, because, you might be formulating a whole lot of ideas within your networks, within your constituencies, within your tribes, whether you're living here in Mexico, you could be over in Peru, you could be in London, I don't know where you are, you might be over there in the Ukraine, I don't know where you are, but you are all equal, and we're all networking to find that whatever our situation, we're connected, whatever our scenario, we are the source, and we know somebody else who recognizes that they're the source too. So this is about nurturing our sense of self in our community. This is about feeling at home and feeling comforted, feeling contended to in a way which is recognizing our sensitivities within communities. The moon! For Mars, transit through Aquarius. Not only that, not only do we feel this internal guidance system within our guts, within our tummy, which the moon rules, but we also got the Three of Wands, which is about initiation of communication, building bridges and connection, which is what Aquarius and Mars is all about. I'm finding lots of opportunities to network around here where I am, whether it's online, always, or whether it's obviously out in my local spheres, doing astrology workshops here in Tulum, Mexico. I'm actually a progressed Sun and Moon and Mercury in Aquarius. And so for you, natal ascendants and moons and suns of Aquarius, you're just going to find this is a very active time for networking. Mars rules Aries, which is your third house of communications and bridge building. I mean, this is also the bridge. How you speak to yourself counts truly, because this is where we tune ourselves up, just like the bridge on the guitar. Because, the guitar, it has a bridge, which is where all the different strings are strung. Some might say that's highly strung. Some might say that's not even tuned up. But it's in our interactions with one another that we find that we get to really tune each of our chakra reels, because each of the chakra reels are each of the planets. And so as Aquarius, you come into connection with different facets of yourself. You're really able to tune up your connection to who you are, which is a sound frequency being. So it's about recognizing how you can nurture yourself as well as other people that you're connecting with, because you're at home when you're within yourself. You're at home when you're connecting to the bridge of your own sphere. Mars also rules your 10th house. So you're really putting it out there in all the different connections that you're working with. This is your time. This is a very powerful time for you, Aquarius. So we have the Three of Wands and the Moon. Mars ruling your 10th house and your 3rd house. Put it out there, but hold it back to be with yourself. It's like non-local, it's oxymoronic. It's a paradox, because we're getting ambience, bouncing from the external and coming back to the internal. But this is our genealogy. This is a timeless moment now for Aquarius. with Mars transit through your sign until the 15th of April. Three of Wands and the Moon card. I'm grateful for you, Mystery Singer and Crystal Lee. A quick question. You're from Australia, and you say, what does it mean when your moon is Scorpio in Western astrology, but in Libra in Vedic astrology? Which one is more accurate? They're both 100% correct, because they're different ways of looking at it. Neither of them are wrong. They're both 100% correct. There's no debate about that in my eye, because they're just different contexts. It's about really finding the benefits in them both. And so I'm exactly the same. My moon would fall back into Virgo, but I haven't got any planets in Virgo in tropical astrology. But in tropical astrology, I've got a Libra moon, you know? And so it's about being able to see both and knowing yourself through both guises. It's about learning two different languages. You're still going to be able to communicate, but you can communicate in different ways. Good question. Okay. And so I'm going to keep shuffling. So Pisces, this is a transit of Mars, Lord of Mars, God of War, Mars, the warrior self, going into your 12th house, Aquarius, where Saturn is also. But your ruling planet, Pisces, it's Jupiter. And today the sun is in a conjunction with Jupiter. And so you're going to find that Jupiter, well, it's sticking around between now and by the time Mars is done in your 12th house. Jupiter's going to be moving closer and closer to Neptune, your other chart ruler. So we're going to have that conjunction of Jupiter and Pisces by the time Mars gets into your first house. There's a whole lot of karma would have been cleared every time a planet is going through the 12th. It's about endings. So this is about the end of some kind of individual stance and nuance with regards to your personal value, your individual value, Pisces, because Mars rules your second house. Not only that, Mars also rules your ninth house, right? Scorpio. And so this is about your belief systems. This is about the unseen, unrecognized facets of the self that can come up through interactions with others, whether it's in tribe, whether it's family, or whether it's even with our business partnerships. It could be even just with our work that we're contending with, or even the relationship that we have with our body and health. But truly, this is an opportunity to see that you're going to be born again. With Mars going through that transit, it's about finding this certain sense of distinction and a template of recognizing your own connection to the source, and how important that is to fathom by letting go of any old ways of doing things. You can transcend into a greater connection with who you truly are, especially with Mars square the nodes as in that polarity of Scorpio and Taurus, which is your ninth house and your third house there, Pisces. It's a very powerful time of letting go of old belief systems, ninth house, where Scorpio is, and coming into this new self orientation. We couldn't have said it any better with these cards. It's perfect. It's about recognizing that you, like the Fool, is a loop. You're leading into yourself, just like my analogy with that electrical lead. You're fully looped into self. In the 0 point, you're the destination, and yet you're able to network and move around so many different locations because you're right on time. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And it's about letting go of this stuff by processing this stuff as it comes up on this hero's journey that allows you to find so many endings at the introduction to so many brilliant, prosperous beginnings. We have the 9 swords, which is letting go of outdated belief systems and perceptions of the self in interaction with one another, so that we can access this hero's journey, which we can go into and come away from. We can go into and come away from throughout our moments. We are always going into and pulling away from. The Fool and the 9 of Swords for Pisces transit of Mars through the 12th house in Aquarius until the 15th of April. All the best to you. Next, we got Aries. Aries, you're ruled by Mars. Mars has been in its exaltation in its favourite sign for the past 5 weeks. And yet now Mars is going to be moving into your 11th house, where it shall be for the next 5 weeks until the 15th of April. So it's really about your networks. It's really about your constituencies. It's all the things that we've been talking about, you see. This is your opportunity to find that you're networking, collaborating, letting go of some of the old ways that you thought you were going to be received when you're collaborating with different people. Oh, they always treat me like this. This is the way that I'm treated in these situations. Oh, no! The story has ended. They're old things that we drag on into the next scene, but we're going into places that we've never seen before. So why are we dragging these old expectations, these old nuances? Why are we carrying on these old stories that have passed their sell-by date? We are not going to have to buy into them anymore. We're going to stop buying into them because we brought them with us for long enough, and we're going to buy into the openness without expectations. We're opening to a whole new world, and this means that we have to face the story and trip over ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, to really heal all of those limitations. South Node in Scorpio. Remember, Mars rules the South Node. So wherever Mars goes, it's dealing with that this whole year. Even when Mars goes retrograde, especially then. And so this is very important for you Aries folks. Obviously, Mars rules your first house as well as your 8th house. But it's about nurturing your emotional conditions from the inside out. 4 cups. It's about really being your own numero uno lover, just like your own mother. How can you nurture yourself throughout your moments while you're going into your interactions with people in your community, when you're feeling isolated and when you're not feeling like going into those interactions? Even when you're in a room full of people, you can feel, oh, so alone, because we are the one and only. But it's about recognizing that when you meet yourself and love the flip out of that script, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. Communicate, open up, connect, be practical, ground yourself. You can find that all of these connections that you're making give you the opportunity to reestablish who you see yourself to be, because you're able to recognize that people really do admire you, people really do love you, people really do think you're sensational, and all these vulnerabilities, they're just some old scripts that are coming up for renewal. 4 cups and the 3 of Pentacles for Mars transit through the 11th house for Aries. It's going through Aquarius all the way into the 15th of April. I wish you all the best. Nurture yourself. You're so worthy of no less than equality in the connections that you serve. Remember, you are the author of your script, so connect with other people who are distinctly in their own sense of authority. While you nurture yourself and build bridges, the greatest bridge, again, is the one that we share with ourselves. 4 cups and the 3 of Pentacles for Aries transit of Mars through your 11th house. It's warm over here in Mexico. I'm telling you, it's getting warm. And I don't mean to rub it in if you're cold. I mean, I wouldn't mind being a bit colder, you know? So, next we got Taurus. Yep, the moon's going your way. 24 hours though, not yet. Venus is your ruling planet. Venus is about to change sign. Venus is about to go into your 10th house, where it shall be for the next 3 weeks. And it will make a conjunction with Mars as of tomorrow, less than 24 hours from now. However, we're here to talk about Mars, which will also be in your 10th house until the 15th of April. And so this is very powerful, asserting the self, a new interpersonal relationship with people in the world. So much has shifted since Venus was retrograde for so long, Obviously, your ruling planet in the 9th house, you've got different belief systems about your value. And yet Mars, the assertion of this, is going to be moving behind Venus for most of this journey. Obviously, it's going to square the nodes between your first house and your 7th house. Mars ruling the South Node, K2, in your 7th house, which is like our projections, our old stories where we don't see ourselves. And so this is an opportunity to really recognize our own tale and rework it, because our plot, your story, is there to be raked over, it's there to be reworked, it's there to be gardened and weeded. And it's for our interactions with one another and our connections with each other that we get to really find what parts, what facets of self are here to stay and what parts we're done with. And those bits that are done, well, they're the bits that are open to be recreated, of course. Mars is going to square Uranus, which is in your 1st house. While you're doing that, obviously, you want to nurture yourself, support yourself, recognize your internal security by knowing your infinite wealth. 4 Pentacles. And again, we're still working with the letting go of many belief systems. Oh, yeah. We're letting go of many impairing thoughts and ideas about ourselves. It's a continual work, if you ask me. Not only that, though, we've got the gracious Queen of Cups, which means reside within your heart space and allow your emotions to do the talking from your creative perspective. Because our creativity is best when it's coming from the energy of our emotional protocols. So nurture yourself, support yourself by being productive when you're connecting with different people in the world. This is a Pisces season, and yet we're obviously going to be moving into the Aries season as well with this Mars transit through your 10th house. But yet we're still going to have a lot of Piscean energy with the exalted Venus, your ruling planet, going on. And so obviously that's the explanation of this Queen of Cups. But this Mars is going to be there, and it's going to be about you being vulnerable, you being out there, and it's shifting how you see yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you feel about yourself. You don't have to go panicking, you don't have to go reaching. You'll draw everything towards you that you need, because you are the picture of consciousness. You are the magnetic one. So just be the speaker, the narrator, be the witness, and speak lovingly throughout all of your engagements. The Page of Pentacles, the Queen of Cups, the Four of Pentacles, and the Nine of Swords for the transit of Mars through Aquarius, which is the 10th house for Taurus, all the way up until the 15th of April. That was complicated, isn't it? Samadhi, I'm grateful for you. Did that resonate with you? Rewrite the story. Yes, Queen of Cups. I'm glad it does resonate. Aloe vera. Yeah, that's some good stuff. I've got some aloe vera spray over there. Somebody who I go regularly to these different restaurants, and the girl from Argentina at the restaurant gave me some spray for the suntan. About that. There you go. It's lovely, isn't it? Because you wouldn't have expected it. You know, nationalities doesn't even matter these days. We're all here in a melting pot, and that melting pot is called the heart, baby. That's our tribe. We are the tribe of the heart. So thank you for your presence, Angela Powell. I see you. And Brandon, you're brilliant. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for connecting. Next, we got Gemini. Gemini, your ruling planet Mercury makes ingress into Pisces in 4 days' time. It is actually currently that Mercury is square the nodes today. It's just come off the back of a conjunction with Saturn. Mercury will fly all the way into Aries through this transit. It does make a sextile with Mars eventually from 25 degrees of Aries, but that won't be until April the 8th. Interesting, so it shall be. Anyway, Mars is going to be making its way through your 9th house until the 18th of April. It makes ingress tomorrow. And so this is really about networking on an international level, Gemini. Maybe it's building bridges and studying philosophy in many different directions. You can be like, I'm learning a bit of this, I'm learning a bit of that. Suit you, Gemini. Maybe it's actually that you're already having sown a few seeds and made a few connections when Mercury did this transit already. And now you're like, oh, I didn't really fully investigate that. I didn't really plunge into that. Now I really get to identify with it because something's coming up that I recognized was valuable that I didn't fully immerse myself into. But Mars digs it on up. You're like, I'm really going to go into it now. I'm going to explore that connection, that person, or that cafe, or that book, or that website. Maybe I'll watch that YouTube video. I don't know where you're going to be exploring, but there's so many different sources for you to discover yourself through. They're Gemini. And so very powerful for you. Woo! And so this is about finding support within your tribe, sturdiness within your kingdom. It's about recognizing yourself as a worthy sense of identification. Obviously, Mars, Mercury, going through the 10th house, is certainly going to be recognized on the scene. But how can you nurture yourself and love yourself as a champion? How can you support yourself? Well, it's actually just by continuing to be very creative and productive, as you always are, continuing to find ways to put your enthusiasm into energy, which is going to give you things back. When you put it into your heart, you know that it's going to make you more magnetic. Just focus on things for the start. You know, you can always go out meeting different people. It's like, wow, I met this person, they were brilliant. Oh, I met this other person, they were fantastic. That's great. But really, you've got to come back and love self. I mean, I remind myself, I'm meeting this person, meeting that person. It's great. But I've got to remember to put the attention on myself and stop idolizing and stop putting eggs in the basket of all the fantastic folks that we're always connecting with, because otherwise it's going to be unequal. So when you're nurturing yourself, you're dead supportive. When you're creating things that you're enthusiastic about, you're incredibly productive. And this is the transit of Mars going through your 9th house in Aquarius until the 15th of April this year. Very powerful stuff for you, Gemini. I wish you all the best in all your connections. And very interesting to find out how this manifests for you. All the best to you. Thank you for your lovely conversations. I see you also, Luna, in the live chat. You're Aquarius and you're from London. Well, wishing you all the best. And Gathaka, the Sea Eagle. That's a cool name. Thank you. Thank you for your lovely contributions. Good day to you. Right, next, we got Cancer. You're ruled by the moon. The moon's in Aries. It's always moving, 'tis that moon. And so, all power to you. Obviously, we're going to Pisces lunar cycle moving towards a full moon in Virgo. But Aquarius is your 8th house. Woo, my goodness. This is meaning that we're going to have a Mars-Venus conjunction for you, Cancer, in your 8th house of interpersonal relationships, but they're deep and private ones too. And so this is really interesting. It's like, hey, you could find family or networks beyond the family, your personal private connections to people within your spheres of influence, in your tribe, or whether it's even people online. This is a new way to recognize yourself. It could be the way that you conduct yourself privately in relationships with people that you met in the world, or in collaborations with other people that you've got creative projects with. Mars rules Aries, which is the 10th house of Cancer, as well as Taurus, which is the 5th house of Cancer. So you can find this is a very powerful opportunity for you to connect with different people that you resonate with in the world, in collaboration, in union, in connection. And this is very exciting for you. It's good, isn't it? What can you say? So what we got is Mars going in to the 8th house, and what we have is the 7 of Pentacles here. So it's really about the projection of how we see things to be on the surface level, and then discovering that they're not like that inside. It's about recognizing our value is beyond what people see of us on the surface level too, Cancer. People might see you to be this way, but actually inside you're that way. And that way is what you'd rather be known for, rather than just being this way. And so this is about having the opportunity to see that 7 is always about the surface level. Libra stuff. 7th house stuff. And that's all a projection. When you look at the sunset, are you thinking, oh, that's a beautiful ball of fire? That's a beautiful star that I desire? Oh, no. What we do is we pontificate and ruminate about things that are much more deep than that, because Libra's got a depth of perspective. And so this is about having a depth of perspective with your interpersonal relationships and being very creative, being very productive with those connections, infinitely so, even though there's emotional currents beneath the surface level. You know, you're able to keep it real. You're able to keep it sound. You're able to keep it sensual, and you're able to keep it grounded. So very nice for you. Express yourself, speak your truth, even when you feel the vulnerabilities, because that's how we move beyond surface level stuff, is when we really communicate, when we really open up and say our values, say our virtues, express who we are. And that really means penetrating and going into the depths of someone's soul. Mars transit through your 8th house, Cancer, for the next 5 weeks until the 15th of April. And we got the 7 of Pentacles and the 2 of Pentacles. This is really probing into the depths of those people that you're connecting with and discovering who they are and revealing who you are beyond the surface level. Very nice indeed. All the best to you, Cancer. Woo! Next we got Leo. Obviously, you're ruled by the sun, and the sun is going through your 8th house at the moment in a conjunction with Jupiter. And so, this is obviously only for a moment, only for a blink of an eye, but yet that sun is going through Pisces again until it goes into Aries, into its exaltation, which is your 9th house, which is where it's going to be for half of this transit of Mars going through Aquarius, which is your 7th house. And so at this point now, this is the bottom 6 houses for Leo. This is the top. So this is the top half of the sky where things are visible on the external world. And this is the bottom. This is internal private business. Mars has been here for the past 50 weeks inside. And so there's been lots of activation on regards to how you orientate about the self. But Mars now, as of tomorrow, as well as Venus, coming up over the horizon, up over the descending point of the Leo chart, which means that self is back on the scene, and yet self is being represented in a way that it hasn't been yet before. And so we're going to go beyond that surface level. Oh, they're wearing that type of t-shirt. Oh, they've got that kind of hair. Oh, they're doing their astrology presentations from what looks like a basement. Because the cream of the crop isn't what it looks like on the surface. You've got to really taste the fruits and smell the perfume before you know how good it is that you're dealing with some particular resource. Because that's really when you get to really find the best stuff. Because the best stuff isn't always presented on the surface level of that which it is when you experience it entirely. So this is very interesting. Mars is going to be in your 7th house of projections, of surface level stuff, and the depth of that which we can move beyond by having the opportunity to move beyond our projections. We actually find our emotional depth is that which we're pulling ourselves out of, and our manifestation time, the weight which we've been carrying, it falls away. So this is beautiful, a very powerful moment, and it's very activating. You can find sometimes it could be a little bit intimidating. You can find it could be a little bit direct. Being aggravated at this point, but in this aggravation, it's clearing away a lot of the surface level stuff that is done. It's done, like cow dung, because it's there to be processed so that you can discover a whole new self. This is your rite of passage. You're moving through the limitations of this old observation of your image and moving into the empowerment of the warrior spirit. This is very charming. You've got the Ace of Wands and the Chariot. Nurture yourself through the embodiment of your own experiences, because what you feel, Chariot, is really a great guide to what is going on beneath the surface level of yourself and those counterparts which you're connecting with. And so this is when you know what's for you and what ain't so much for you, what's going to be positive and what's going to be negative. Sometimes we need a little bit of negative to equal out all the positive. That's what the 7th house is all about. And so this is finding a great opportunity for us to span across the whole land some of the stories that we hadn't really recognized before. A metamorphosis of our projections, a shift in consciousness of the way that we narrate our situations when entangled with other people. 8 swords, as well as the Chariot and the Ace of Wands. For Leo's transit of Mars through Aquarius in the 7th house, all the way until the 15th of April. Very nice. I told you it's all about our pet projections, isn't it? It's all about our assumptions, and they, as you know, make an ass out of you and I. And so this is a great opportunity to find that we are not being reactive. We're being responsible. Because when we respond with love, we're not throwing the baby out of the bathwater, making an ass out of ourselves by projecting our prior stories onto those people where it might not even be true about. It tells us a lot more about ourselves than it does the other. And so to have great connections, it is about responding with love and being the altar that changes the story and the native that recognizes the responsibility in doing so. And that's truly being the alternative radical self, Mars in Aquarius. The buck stops with you, because this is the altar, and this is how we change. We are that change. We are the change that we need not seek. You won't be shortchanged if you keep changing your perspective on yourself and recognize how gosh darn brilliant and lovely you are. You are a great magician, sorcerer. You are a tremendous transmutation conscious crystal being. And this is where we find that we can do our great work. Because the great work isn't about the external world. It's the love that we face within ourselves. And where we haven't loved ourselves, well, that's what shows up in our external world. So this is brilliant. Tremendous opportunity. Next, we got Virgo. Virgo, you're ruled by Mercury. Mercury is going to be, as we say, going through Pisces, which is your 7th house. Another opportunity to see you from another angle of perspective. It's not there yet. It will also go into Aries. It doesn't go into Pisces until the 9th, which is in 4 days. So Mars actually makes ingress into your 6th house tomorrow. And it's going to be there. You're the 6th sign, Virgo. So this is a great opportunity for you to recognize that you're the source, and those people within your constituencies, those people within your networks, they really identify with what you've got going on because you've been working, you've been laboring away, you've got a grand harvest of results, and people really would like to be able to share with you what they have as well as receive what you have. This is powerful. You're going to find that in your networks right now, this is the most opportune time for being resourceful, especially with Jupiter there on your descendant, especially with Mercury there on your descendant. You know, Venus is going to be going through there too eventually also. So it can be sweet as you recognize the wealth of who you are, Virgo. Goodness, it's all within you, but yet it's not within view. So it's not obvious always on the surface level who is that great source. So don't be projecting. We'll make an ass out of ourselves. But sometimes that's what we need, right? So we can do that healing. So Mars for Virgo rules the 3rd house of networking, bridge building, communications, and your immediate environment, as well as your 8th house of, of sharing energy, sex, collaborations, and all that kind of stuff. So you might be meeting loads of people that you're able to connect with and share energy with, maybe do business with, maybe have an exchange with, an equal exchange, one would intend. And yet you've got to be very creative with your words, your marketing. You've got to be very creative with your thoughts, your perspectives that you're sharing with yourself and with other people in these times. We got the opportunity for you to be open as well with your communications. The page is who you are. You are Mercury. This is about the communication, being very open and creative with your smarts as well as your emotions. It allows you to be transparent, open, vulnerable, and authentic with those people that you're doing your exchanges and engagements with. This is imperative because, what have we got to hide? If you've got something to hide, that stinks. It's not authentic. But when you can be just completely open, this is who I am, this is what I've got going on, this is my plan, this is my nuance, then that's going to allow other people to know where they stand as you reveal exactly your standards. The Page of Cups, as well as the 5 of Swords for Virgo. Transit of Mars for Aquarius in your 6th house until the 15th of April. You're brilliant. I see you there, Jen Lynn. Oh, thank you for the lovely compliment. And Colette. Yes, you're smarty pants, you are. It's not all just what it seems to be on the surface level, but the emotional depth is that which we're here to pull ourselves out of. This is all friggin' in the rigging. It's all the world of commerce. And so really when we seize ourselves and gather and collect our value, then we can walk on water because we're Christ consciousness, baby. Crystal beings. How do you do? Nice to know you. Nice to see you. Right, Libra, you're ruled by Venus. Your ruling planet Venus makes ingress into your 5th house of Aquarius, where it shall be for the next 3 weeks as of mañana, tomorrow, less than 24 hours from now. However, Mars also does that same journey. In fact, Mars goes there first before the conjunction of Mars and Venus tomorrow. And so this is happening at 0 degrees of Aquarius, but Mars is going to be making its way through your 5th house all the way up into the 15th of April. Oh yeah. So this is a tremendous time for you to act with regards to your own sense of valuable creativity. Mars ruling not only your 7th house, which is how you see yourself, it also rules your 2nd house, which is how you deem yourself to be valuable, all the qualities, all the gifts and talents that which you are here to share. And so this is a very great opportunity for you to network within your creative tribe and share and support yourself as well as feel supported by others that you're doing collaborations with. Very cool, if you ask me. I like it. It's going to be pretty awesome for you guys. And so, And so, what we got was the Tower card here. So, these things, it's interesting to see if this is actually of resonance. Sometimes you need to find that the end of a story is the greatest opportunity to build something stable up upon it. And so we start the transit out with that conjunction. But again, both your ruling planet, Venus and Mars, do have to meet with Saturn in your 5th house. What endings can you find open up to new beginnings for you that you can build upon stable ground? With the authenticity of your heart's expression, this is very much the king in the 5th house. Creativity, Mars and Venus in your 5th house and air. But what endings can you bring so that you can open up brand new beginnings within your personal experience from a neutral space? What can you just allow to be and find that that's the perfect building blocks for you and your creativity? Sometimes the destruction is the most fun part of playtime. Putting the toys away, putting them back into the chest. Sometimes pulling things apart or allowing them to crumble give us the greatest inspiration and gets us ready to rumble. Whatever it is for you guys, support yourself, love yourself, be very creative with your heart. You're absolutely worthy. We've got the Tower card and the King of Swords for the transit of Mars through Aquarius, which is the 5th house for Libra, until the 15th of April. Oh my gosh, I'm a Libra ascendant and moon. I love you, Tower card. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, let the dominoes fall. It all adds up, but the subtraction, wow, that's half our story. Right, next we got Scorpio, then we've got Sagittarius, and then we've got Capricorn. Okay, so Scorpio, you're ruled by Mars. Mars is your ruling planet. You really want to pay attention. It's actually going into your 4th house, which is where it's going to be there in Aquarius until the 15th of April. So this is, again, looking at your tribe, your networks, your local constituencies, your family life, your connection to different people which you might share in your nest online, and all these types of things. It's kind of non-local. Maybe you live in separate places. I don't know there, Scorpio. But it's very important that you recognise that this is a massive opportunity to end stories that you are used to identify with regards to the reflection of the family or your networks in your home. As well as recognising that Mars rules the chart, rules your ascendant, if you will, if you're a Scorpio ascendant, but it also rules the South Node transit through Scorpio. And so massive letting go of the old face or the old stuff which we couldn't face, the old stuff that we didn't know about ourselves, which was part of our tale, which gets revealed to us through interactions with certain people in our experiences. And we got the Judgment card, which is all about the stuff which comes up from beyond the surface level when we project our own illusions onto other people's canvas that fits our story. And so this is a perfect opportunity for us to see things beyond the surface level. Often that comes into feeling things, which tells us a lot more than our observations, because our feelings are a great guide. Mars, working through your 4th house until the 15th of April, is finding that you're here to support yourself, nourish yourself, nurture yourself, and build yourself up in a way that is very supportive. But it's these judgments which tear us down. It's these judgments which finds that it reveals so much more about us rather than the other people which we're perceiving about. So if we can really be our own counselor, if we can really be our own therapist, we can be our own mother, as well as our father and inner child, we can support ourselves in finding that we are very much stable in who we are when we let go of who we thought we were perceived to be. The Judgment card and the 4 of Wands for Scorpio's transit of Mars through Aquarius in the 4th house until the 18th of April. Boom, boom, boom. Well, Sagittarius, you're ruled by Jupiter, and we got the Sun-Jupiter day today. Jupiter in Pisces in your 4th house, but this is a transit of Mars through your 3rd house. And so this is, again, very much networking, communicating, connecting with one people, detaching. This is Aquarius. Connecting with somebody else, detaching. Connecting with something, detaching. You don't really want to spend the same amount of time with all the same people, really, because you can learn so much from different varieties. It's like listening to different types of music or using different colours within the portrayal of a masterpiece that you might have. If you've got lots of different colours in the mixing palette, then you want to find that this different thing's going to bring out a different experience as we choose to use these different colours. And so this can be very powerful for you, Sagittarius, as you're recognizing that as you connect to different people, you get different outcomes. You're able to hear yourself and see yourself in different ways. Woo! Then the cards which come flying out, well, this one went all the way over here. I can see the other one. I'm going to save it because I want to know what this one is. This one for Sagittarius is a completion. You know, it's a completion of an old sense of self. And in doing this complete story, like Mars coming to meet Saturn, as it shall, it's like, wow, this has really shifted the tables. I'm really having to find that actually I'm coming into self-recognition. Because at the end of this old portrayal, this old image that we thought we were, we're opening up to a whole new sense of value from within. We've got the 10 swords and the Empress for Sagittarius. But it's about recognizing our reflection, emotional reflection, recognizing other people's emotions and feelings that allows us to put these old stories of who we thought we were to bed. And that's opening us up to the riches of our great connection to others and the philosophy that lays beneath it all. Beautiful, isn't it? 2 cups, 10 wands, and the Empress. For the transit of Mars in Aquarius in the 3rd house for Sagittarius until the 15th of April. Beautiful. The end of something that you thought was, and the beginning of the potential of what shall be. Thank you for your presence. I'm grateful for each and every single one of you, Lilac Lady. Next we got Capricorn. And it's lastly, certainly not leastly, our dear Capricorn. You're ruled by Saturn, of course, and Saturn's in the 2nd house at the moment in Aquarius, and you know Mars will make its conjunction with Saturn. So this is going to be very interesting. I'd say that's on the 4th of April, and this is very powerful with regards to family and tribe. Mars ruling Aries, which is your 4th, your 4th house. And so it's identifications with family since you were a kid, but also the opportunity to see yourself in deep collaborations and connection and networks. Obviously, Mars in Aquarius, Scorpio is the 11th house for Capricorn. So this is very powerful in recognizing that, you know, you do know other people with stature. You're known and as well as knowing others. And so this is about really regulating the letting go of this old story of insignificance and recognizing the stature which you're able to nurture when you're coming into connection with other equals who recognize themselves. Capricorn. This is about really finding the backbone and lifting yourself into being this stand-up frequency of integrity. As much vulnerability as that reveals, those are those vulnerabilities that we're here to heal. And they're always dragging on our heels. They're always dragging on our stories because that's where we discover ourselves. And so this is a very powerful transit. Again, it's about recognizing ourselves in reflection to other people. 7 swords. But in doing so, we're nurturing our sense of self-worth because sometimes we just got to show up and know our value. And in knowing our value and holding ourselves to it, we can find our opportunity to magnetize the true, authentic connections which are there to be established with those other people which we're exchanging with. And also recognizing them beyond their surface level of their story, allowing them to feel nurtured, even though we are the butt of one another's jokes when our tail pops out. This is very powerful. It's about finding the vulnerability is the great strength, and this flipping of the script, which we're all doing. This is the theme, isn't it? My old story popped out. That's the theme, isn't it? Much rather deal with that than get all stuck and lost into the old stories. Oh, goodness me. Those melodramas are mellow, man. They're not as deep as showing up with the labors of love, which we can truly shift that story with. And so when we recognize that it's our story which is open to change, Capricorn, 7 swords, and the Four of Pentacles, which have maybe been our narrative since the ground up, then it is actually always through the root, through our own tail, that we get to empower ourselves to a brand new story. Because it is actually our plot, which is always open for remaking. So thank you for recognizing yourself. Lend your eye to the great timeless creators out there. Lend your eye to the Vince McMahons of this world, to the Jim Hensons of this world. Yeah, to the Spielbergs of this world, just for a moment, because they're the great Aquarian individual creators. And the way that they use their storytelling theatres will be a great example in how we can tell our own story. Because you are the storyteller, and this is what counts. Everything out here is counter space. Everybody's borrowing a character. They're playing a facet of ourselves. They're just letting space within this holographic, earthly garden, this plane. And so what we have the opportunity to do is to find that every body out here is cast from the center of our being. Just how I am, a reflection of you. Everybody is a miracle. How do you do? We're miracles. And so, whereas we gaze into ourselves lovingly, into the central space of our own chandelier, and speak to ourselves lovingly, we're really cleaning our story. We're going to contend with different jarring reflections that allow us to see our vulnerabilities and insecurities. But facing those vulnerabilities and showing up with love and transparency, saying, yeah, that's me. That's who I am. And that's who I'm letting go of. And this is who I'm becoming. But in this moment, that's me, vulnerably. You're good enough. You're worthy. All of that which you've done may not be who you are anymore. All that who you would aspire to be could be who you've become. But right here, right now, you're absolutely infinitely worthy. And so we must cut, like the director cuts that tail, see the ingredients, see the nuances, and recreate it into our new spectacular. Because that's how we find a timeless image. And it comes just like a flash, Aquarius. But then when we act on that Mars, action, that takes courage. And you get a great resolution that could even be a whole new revolution for our story as individuals, as well as in humanity. All the best to you. If you want a personal consultation of me, I'm here to serve you. All of the links are in the description box below. Book your 1 hour consultation and we'll go through all your natal chart and all the transit in application to your chart. Get your 2 hour deep dive and we'll go into the depths of every cycle holding a space, recognizing with a bit more expanse each of these stories with a little bit more time. I also do relationship charts, synastry charts, and progress chart readings, as well as electional charts as well. I'm here to serve you. I actually did a consultation with this brilliant man, Gregory David Park, in the live chat. Thank you for your presence. All the links for you to book your consultation are in the description box below. And as soon as you have made your investment, you will receive a link to my calendar and you can book your own appointment, and we'll look forward to sharing connection at some point in the not too distant future now. Thank you each for showing up for yourself. Constant growth. I appreciate your perspective. Thank you for holding a space of recognition. The way that I share astrology isn't just academic, it's truly spiritual. And as you see, it's really about connecting to the spirit. Astrology is the greatest tool that we have in recognizing that we are the storyteller. It's the greatest tool that we have in recognizing that your story is the greatest one that you can ever tell. Thank you for being you. I'm going to catch you on the flip side. Cheerio for now. Have a fantastic